Hi, Pete.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Hi, Chris. Hi, Nick. Hi, Yvonne. I'm starting to get the hang of Zoom.
Sadly, it looks like you'll need it for a while longer.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. I did my first Zoom deposition last week.
Well, how did that go?
It was fine. I mean, the odd thing was that the other attorney who was doing the deposition asked if or she said we weren't recording it. I said, why? I mean, when you can record it, why wouldn't you?
Right, right.
But since it was my witness, I didn't really care. So.
Right.
Guys. Hi, guys.
Yes.
I have 7 o'clock. If you want to get started.
Okay.
Do we need to promote the Board of Assessors or no?
I was going to do that while Pete's reading
sure.
our initial thing. Yep.
Just get the reminders off of my screen. Okay, this is the, let's see, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Medfield Board of Selectmen is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen or view this meeting while in progress may do so by following the instructions on the agenda and meeting notice. All votes subject to remote participation and therefore will be roll call votes. We are being recorded and it's November 17, 2020. We always start our meetings with a moment of appreciation for our servicemen. Oh, I'm using the wrong mouse for my other computer. Too many computers going. So if we could just take a moment of appreciation for our troops around the world, please. Thank you. We have our annual tax classification public hearing with the Board of Assessors. Welcome, Board of Assessors. Tom, Ken, Yvonne.
Hi, Pete. Did you want me to read the legal notice, Pete, or do you have a copy?
I don't have a copy of the legal notice for the classification hearing.
I have a copy. I can read it.
Great.
Okay.
All right.
Mike, go ahead.
So this legal notice was posted in the Medfield Press for the tax classification hearing. Attention taxpayers. Noting that the Medfield Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, November 17th, 2020 at 7 p.m. via Zoom for tax classification purposes. The central issue to be discussed during this tax classification hearing is whether all 5 classes of property, residential, open space, commercial, industrial, and personal shall be taxed at the same rate or at different rates for the fiscal year 2021 pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 56. The Board of Assessors will provide relevant information regarding the tax rate, including the fiscal effects of available alternatives. So that's the standard you have to live up to, Ken and Tom, relevant information. Interested taxpayers are urged to attend with the hearing via Zoom. Written and oral statements from interested taxpayers will be accepted by the Board of Selectmen's office and taken into consideration at the hearing. Medfield TV will broadcast the public hearing. Detailed instructions on how to participate will be posted on the meeting agenda. To participate in the meeting via Zoom, follow these instructions, and posted below is the Zoom link for this meeting. Osler L. Peterson, Chairman, Board of Selectmen, posted in the press 11/6/2020. And I would say we would probably take input from uninterested and disinterested taxpayers as well, in addition to.
Okay, great. Nick was going to share his screen for the my presentation that I do every year. Just change some numbers.
Seeing it now.
We can see it.
We can see it. Yep.
Oh, you can? I can't. I can't see it. Should I just go?
Yeah, we can
You
see it.
can. I mean, it says fiscal 2021 classification hearing, November 17, 2020, Yvonne. It's the first page.
Okay. All right, so I'll go to the next slide.
Purpose.
So every year by statute, the Board of Selectmen have to decide whether they want to split the tax rate or not. If you choose not,
Have we lost Yvonne?
We have lots of on.
Okay.
Hmm.
Hold on, we're relocating her to a better office that has better internet capability.
She's actually at the townhouse. That's bad.
It's not great.
I was hoping it was her home internet that wasn't fast enough.
No, our wireless connection has been giving us some trouble the last month or so.
Nick plays some really complex video games after hours, so it ties up the bandwidth.
Okay, she's just signing in Georgia's office, so we should be all set in just 1 minute.
How does it work better in one office versus another? Is it all just the wireless issue?
It is. We're working on it now. We're supposed to be upgrading our wireless connection in the building. It was never, when we put it in, it was never designed for all of us that are currently using it.
Maybe she should just take the calls from Starbucks.
It's probably much better.
Well, her office is tough. It's right at that corner of the building. So the signal is probably pretty weak there.
Okay. Hold on, they're coming.
Yes, I actually did that one day. I was doing a trial and I had to file something with the court. And I also had to pick up my daughter somewhere and do something. And so I actually stopped in the parking lot of a car dealership to file my document with the Norfolk Superior Court.
Whatever it takes.
There we go.
okay, so Wi-Fi in here, sorry. I just went to George's office. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so every year by statute, the selectmen must choose if they want to adopt a split rate or not. So adopting a residential rate factor of 1 would ensure a single tax rate across all classes of property. It is our responsibility, as Mike read in the notice, to provide you with relevant information regarding what would happen if you chose to split the rate or not. Last year, I went over I wanted to correct the misconception that splitting the tax rate would increase the amount of money the town can levy or raise or generate. It doesn't do that. If you split the tax rate, merely what it does is the commercial properties pay more and the residential properties pay a little less. It's still all the same levy and budget. That does not change. Okay, Nick, the next slide. Okay, so the tax rate, a single tax rate, you would vote a residential factor of 1. And what this would do, it would, for all classes of property, they would be taxed at their full and fair cash value. If you chose to split the rate, then the residential burden would be slightly less and the commercial burden would be much higher. Okay, Nick, next. And this again is the residential factor of 1, which I went over. And what would happen is the commercial properties would have a higher tax rate and the residential properties would have a slightly smaller tax rate. Okay, Nick, next slide. I do this every year. Not all of the surrounding towns have set their tax rate yet. We're a little early for fiscal 21, so I show you last year's tax rates. So last year, there's only 2 towns that split the rate, Walpole and Westwood, and you can see that they have a much higher commercial percentage than we do. Dover, Norfolk, Millis, Sherburne, and Medfield all have under 10% residential percentage. So the two towns that split it are those towns that have more than 10%, and that's pretty typical. We run about 5.5% on our commercial, industrial, personal percentage. Okay, Nick. So again, historically, Medfield has always maintained a single tax rate. Shifting the tax rate would significantly increase the taxes for the commercial properties, which I'll show in the next couple of slides. Okay, Nick. Okay, so with an overall scenario, this is our projected share of the tax levy for the commercial properties, about 2.8 million out of a $50 million levy. So with a 10% shift, that approximate 5.5% of the town would pay 3.1 million versus 2.8. And then you can see as it goes up, if you shift it up to a 25, it's 3.5 million, 50%, which is the max that we can shift, is a 4.2 million. This doesn't really show you the great impact. The next slide does, and it breaks it down into a residential and a commercial property that are assessed the same. So our projected estimated tax rate, if approved by the state, is $17.76 for fiscal 21. So what that does is, with a single rate, both the commercial property and the residential property, assuming that they're valued the same at $690, their taxes would be $12,254. If you did a 10% shift, the residential taxpayer would save $75, whereas the commercial taxpayer would have to pay an additional $11.59. So this is where it shows you the huge difference if you opted for a shift. So, and as you can see, as you go up with the 25% shift, the residential only saves $186 on a $12,000 tax bill, whereas your commercial property would be more at a $15,000. So they would be increased by over $3,000, which is pretty significant. And then of course, the last one, a 50% shift, it's $365 to $6,000. So as you can see with this example, the commercial properties, since we don't have too many of them in town, would really get hit pretty hard. Okay, Nick. And this just shows the historical data for the town over the last 6 years. We run about 5.5%, and that's pretty consistent with our commercial, industrial, and personal property. And that just gives you the tax. So you can see the tax dollars. Their tax dollars increase every year, just as our levy does. Okay, Nick. And this is just a bit of information I give every year, the single family average. For fiscal 21, it's going to be $692,400, and the average tax bill will be $12,297. This is, of course, all pending approval. Okay, Nick. So the Board of Assessors recommend that the Selectmen adopt a residential factor of 1 and continue our uniform single tax rate. Do you have any questions?
Gus, any questions?
I do not. Nope. No questions.
Mike, any questions?
No questions.
I have no questions either.
Great.
Do we have a motion then?
I would move.
I assume there's no comment from the public. That's fair.
I have nothing in the Q&A.
Okay.
All right, then I would move that we accept the recommendation of the Board of Assessors and adopt a single tax rate and a residential factor of 1 for the fiscal year 2021.
Second.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
And Mr. Murby.
Aye.
And Mr. Marcucci, aye.
Great, thank you very much. The only other thing I have to inform you of is that the excess levy capacity, which will be listed on your LA5, is a little over 16,000. And so I'd ask that you sign the LA5 on the gateway tonight too as well.
Great. Will that just, when we log in, will that just pop up?
Yes, it's a part of the LA5, and that you'll see the 16,000, and you just have to sign that you approved the single rate.
Okay.
Great.
Very good.
And you already
Thanks,
sent
Yvonne.
us that link for that, Yvonne?
Yes.
Okay. Same one we did before.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're staying here after the meeting in case there's an issue to walk you through in case anybody has a problem signing it.
That seems wise.
Yeah.
Given that I don't think I've done this once where there wasn't some issue at some point with the system that required us to do it, come back the next day. So
No, we'll get it right tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Good night. So our next appointment then is with the holiday light display request at Medfield State Hospital, Brett Poirier and Jean Minio. Hi, Jean.
Hello.
Hey, Jane.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Brett. Thanks for coming.
Hello, thank you.
Who's gonna, by the way, I had to wait at Thanksgiving. It took me an hour and 15 minutes to get home from downtown Medfield. I got as far as about West Mill, and then it took me like an hour from there to my Copperwood Road.
We will certainly talk about it.
Okay.
If I can, I'm going to share my screen with you. How's that for everybody?
Great. Thank you.
All right, so this is obviously an effort from CAM with Jean Minio, the Cultural Alliance, and Medfield TV. We're calling it the Winter Lights Display, and I would be remiss if we did not talk about October 30th. So on October 30th, Medfield TV and the Medfield Public Library did a haunted drive-through, and this event, it was a huge success. I think ultimately I would like to call it that. We had 1,200 cars that got to drive through our drive-through event and got to see what we put together with the Medfield Public Library. We had a ton of kids who put together some great volunteers who were able to put on like a really great show for people. However, there were obviously some major problems. So we had 2 hours of traffic going from every direction, like you alluded to, Pete. And it's not something that I took lightly. It's something that we looked at immediately and looked at when we do an event like this again, what can we do to improve? And I think that we have some improvements that we would make. I do want to apologize to residents for not only if you were in that traffic and just trying to go home. I know that there was a lot of people there, but also the people that we had to turn away. I know that that was really disappointing for a lot of people. And it was disappointing for me. It was a tough decision I had to make to do that. But like I said, we have some improvements that we're going to make. So one of the things that I did go through all the comments, and I got a couple phone calls and all sorts of things that people made some suggestions. And we also sat down and planned a bunch of stuff out. We worked out a lot of different planning. And these are the improvements that we saw that would help the situation that happened. So the first is that we're going to open for more than one night. Obviously, I think the lesson that we learned is whether it have been our event or any event that was going to be at the state hospital, a lot of people were interested in it. And we came up with a good idea, but I think we nailed the fact that a lot of people were interested in this event. So opening up for more than one night allows those people to all come. We're going to do a longer route that's on the hospital grounds. The reason for that is to get more traffic off the road and onto the state hospital grounds to help alleviate some of the traffic there. And then we're also going to ticket the event with timed entrances. And what that's going to do is control the traffic of how many people can show up at one time to the event. So those are the things that we ended up really looking at and saying, this is going to help with the traffic that's on the site, that's going to help alleviate that. So what our plan is we have a few different routes. So the red route here is actually just what we did for Halloween. And you can see how short of a path that actually is. So not a whole lot of cars were allowed onto the path. And so all the cars essentially backed up along the hospital road. We also came up with, Gene and I came up with 2 different routes that we can use for the actual state hospital. And the reason that we would go between the 2 of them is because Gene is using her connections with local businesses to see if we have any interest in people wanting to use free promotion to come out and put displays up on the buildings. We're 2 nonprofits that are looking to do this. Christmas lights are in fact pretty expensive. So we are looking to put out the Christmas lights and put out some displays ourselves. But we wanted to give an opportunity for local businesses, whether it be restaurants or any of the other stores that are in the area, to use this opportunity, knowing that there's going to be a lot of cars and a lot of people interested in this event, to be able to come out, put out some displays, and be a part of our display. So Gene is reaching out to people now, depending on what the response is to that. If we get 9 businesses that are interested, we're going to use the yellow path. And what that's going to do is be a little shorter through the state hospital, but it's going to give us these businesses in this area here to be able to set up some displays. If we get 20 or more businesses, we're going to be able to open up to the entire state hospital and use the blue path. And so Gene's going to be talking a little bit about what that process is going to be like, reaching out to the businesses and seeing that. So that's pretty much what those are. And then the other thing I wanted to go through with everybody was the ticketing system we're going to use. So we are going to use Eventbrite. We looked at 3 or 4 different situations, 3 or 4 different ways of ticketing people. So this is what people would actually see when they go to the event. The first thing that we looked at was whether Medfield TV can host the ticketing. We can do it, but the tickets wouldn't be secure. So essentially anyone could just print out our ticket and then show up anyway. So we wanted to avoid that. The second one we looked at was another ticketing system that was very similar, but we thought Eventbrite was our absolute best choice. So we came up with this. Basically, people would hit select a date. When they do that, they come up with the dates that we're suggesting. So Thursday the 17th to Sunday the 20th. They would select the date that they have picked and then a time for them to arrive. And we did 15-minute intervals, and we did 45 minutes every hour. And we're selling 400 tickets an hour. We figured that out through a combination of car length divided by the equation is car length by distance that they would travel, how fast it would be, how many cars can you actually move from point A to B within that time traveled. And so we figured out the actual number is like 600 and something per hour, but we cut that way back because obviously we wanted to be pretty conservative. We're also looking to, instead of selling the entire hour, only sell the first 45 minutes. So we want to try to be as conservative as possible when selling the tickets to make sure that we avoid another logjam. And the last thing that I am actually doing is, I'm going to sort of bring us back to the map here, but the last thing I'm actually going to be doing is sitting down with Chief Garrett on Monday to go over this plan even further to see what she thinks entirely about, if she has any advice for us as well. So if Jean, if you want to add anything else.
That was great, Brett. Thank you. I think, what we were looking for from the selectmen was the dates, sort of approval on the dates. If you had any concerns about any of these routes, if we could have some flexibility with that in the next week or so while we're working with the businesses. And then any other concerns you might want to raise that we should be thinking about.
I just have one. Because you're both doing this as a fundraiser for nonprofits, I think we're going to need to do the formal license agreement, and you're going to have to carry insurance on the project. I can let Mark weigh in on that. I think I unmuted him.
Mr. Sorrell, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Sorry about that.
No, I had to unmute. They instructed me to unmute on this end as well. So anyway, yeah, I mean, this potential, anytime you got moving vehicles, there's, you know, the potential for liability from this type of an event. So even though each automobile involved, private automobile is carrying its own insurance, but you've got the whole event as well, and any number of contingencies could occur, which it just be the prudent thing to do.
So Mark, do we both have to carry liability insurance, or is one organization carrying it enough? And do you have limits of coverage you would seek?
I would defer to Chris on that as to what she's required in the past for similar type events.
Yeah, our standard agreement is $1 million.
Okay.
You may be able to get one policy issue with multiple insureds on it.
Okay.
And that might save you some money, but check with an agent that knows what they're doing with this kind of coverage.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Gus?
I
Anything?
had a couple, just to be sure I understand the concept, and one was just curious. As I look at this map, it looks like the blue route is shorter than the yellow route, but the yellow route is the one you're using for a smaller number of businesses. And and as I think about the setting, it would seem to me that a holiday lighting would be nicer on the inside of the campus than the outside. So I'm coming from a couple directions. And I'm thinking that the roads on the inside of the campus are in better shape than the outer loop of the yellow route. So it's not that I care, it's just I was curious why you didn't just use the blue route regardless.
I think the blue route is also preferred, Gus. There's just more buildings to contend with. And we're looking at a fairly sizable expenditure for lights for trees already. So if we don't have some substantial interest from other either businesses or community groups to help with some of those buildings, we probably can't swing it all ourselves.
So because there's so many
buildings,
you're saying the building, what, you have to light the buildings, or are you using the buildings for the displays? I just couldn't.
Exactly, right. We'd be lighting them or putting a display on them or on the front of them or on the yard in that area, so that you would have something to view with each of the buildings, with each of the facades. So you'd have fewer facades in the yellow route than you do with the blue route.
Okay. Oh, well, anyway, I was curious what the thought process was. I would have, my head would have gone inside the campus.
I think that's the preferred route for sure.
Okay.
It'd be more attractive. I agree.
Okay. So the one other thing I wasn't clear on, although I think Christine just cleared it up. So the purpose of this is as a fundraiser for both Medfield TV and Camp?
Well, that would be ideal. After our expenditures.
I'll ask the question a different way. It looked to me when I did the math that this is going to, assuming you sold out, which you may not do, but if you sold out, this is going to raise a significant amount of money.
Right.
Who gets it?
It will gross a significant amount of money. The net is the question, right? So after expenditures, after generators that we'll have to pay for, right? There's no electricity, purchasing the lights, staffing the event. You've got now insurance, police details, et cetera, et cetera. So, the expectation is there might be something. We'd also like to make sure we could have some free tickets available for, say, food covered families, so that there's other, not just expenditures on materials and personnel, but some other opportunities there.
All right. And then, and this is not to rain on the parade here, but just from a policy standpoint, for Pete and Mike, we're using the front part of the property for Coolidge Corner, and that's been a pretty successful event. So that's worked. This is a more elaborate, not granted, it's not for profit, so it's not as big an issue for me, but this is a more elaborate fundraising event than anything we've done so far. This might even be a question for Mark. Is there anything about kind of ramping up an activity like this with the kind of gross revenue production that this would produce? Does that put us into any odd categories of setting a precedent for how the campus can be used? Anything around, sheer dollar value and what sorts of things that are going to go in up there that would give us any pause? And I'm not suggesting there is. I just think we should ask the question.
Well, I mean, once you open the campus for activities, it certainly restricts your ability to say no, particularly for nonprofit and charitable type things, and particularly those that might have some kind of aspect of either First Amendment, either speech or religious type things. So what the law is on that is kind of a refresher. The First Amendment with respect to religion is you can't favor it, but you can't discriminate against it.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that this is being referred to as holiday lighting is
Winter light.
Winter lighting is even better. So that's, it's you've got some, and it's being done without town funds. You're just making the property available, and which also dovetails to the liability issue. If the town is simply making the property available and not charging a fee, the town that is, then you've got the insulation of the recreational use statute. Whereas if you charge a fee, then you lose that insulation.
Mm-hmm.
And you do have two other nonprofits that hold fundraisers on the property already, between the New Life 5K and that bicycle, that cyclocross race. I mean, they don't gross the same, but their roots are actually bigger than this.
Well, partly where I'm coming from.
Oh, sorry. I think cyclocross pays us a fee for that, though. I'd have to go back and check. I can't remember off the top of my head.
They paid a fee, as I recall.
Yeah, I think they pay the $2,000 usage fee.
Okay.
Right. There's that plus the sheer when I looked at the calculation on gross revenue, what I'm getting at is, aside from free speech issues, we're moving up the activity to a higher revenue scale here than what we've done in the past. And again, I'm not making an argument against it. I'm just trying to be sure that I understand what implications, if any, that has around the decisions we're making about how the hospital gets used, and perhaps, to Mark's point, what ramifications, if any, a decision that we might have on this could have on our ability to either decide whether we did or didn't like some other event that was a fundraiser.
Or even were not a fundraiser. If what you're allowing essentially commercial activities, which is kind of the lowest form of protected activity. It's not protected. It's just kind of, or it's minimally. It can be strongly regulated. But once you're allowing that, then you have protected activity, First Amendment expression, and all that. You'd be very hard pressed to say no to some sort of rally or something like that.
Well, we already have commercial activity there. We rent it.
That's absolutely. I understand.
Rented it for years.
Right.
Right.
So this is nothing new.
I think that's right.
All I'm saying is you're pretty much opening the property up without restriction for various uses other than purely commercial, which you have control over.
But some of them we charge rent for. This would be one we wouldn't. But on the other hand, this is a not-for-profit activity. I guess what I'm
Well, you
I'm
own
getting...
as a landowner, you have that right. This isn't like the town hall or something like that. This happens to be what could otherwise be privately owned land. That the town bought this as essentially an investment.
Right, and so the implications of allowing something like this then would be what, Mark? If any?
Well, at least as to the commercial or fundraising type activities, you have more discretion over that
Okay,
than you might in some other location.
right. I mean, what I'm looking at as a comparison point is the discussion we had, I think 2 years ago around Suicide Prevention Month when we used the Pocket Park. And we
Yeah,
kind of
that's apples and oranges. So those are essentially public forums, whether it's in front of the town hall or the streets or it's a completely different legal analysis.
So again, the only thing right now, this is considering opening up this for a fundraising opportunity for two not-for-profit organizations. If we agree to do that, I think I hear you saying we would probably have a hard time denying another fundraising organization that wanted to use it permission to use the property.
Not so much the fundraising; it's other type of things. I mean,
Right, but I think that's not.
There's been other activities suggested for up there, and you're allowing commercial activities with kind of a small C to go on, so you wouldn't be able to say, no, we don't want you up there.
But that horse is out of the barn is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's no new horses coming out of the barn with this one.
There's always new horses. Mutations.
I like horses. Okay. All right.
I was just thinking as you were talking, and for Gene and Brett's, if they're interested, I was recalling the big display that the car dealer in Millis used to have at his home.
I already talked to him, Mark.
Okay, all right.
I'm right.
I didn't know if that stuff was in storage somewhere or he got rid of it or what.
He has not gotten rid of it. He will not loan it to us this year, but I'm not taking no for an answer next year.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, I think I've had my questions answered. I'm okay.
Mike, did you have any questions?
I don't think so. No.
I'm okay at this point too. I guess I would just maybe suggest to try to figure out a way to, if you're as successful as you were at Halloween, maybe try to figure out a way to stack the cars on the site rather than on the roads. You could use that. You could use that parking lot down on the west side towards the river, maybe, to stack up cars.
Stack them vertically.
Well, it's a wide parking lot, so you could have lanes and you could create a system.
Even the other side, even south of Hospital Road, maybe.
Yeah.
I think the chief has some suggestions as well, and she's probably going to have multiple detail officers there compared to Halloween. So
I think so too.
Somebody might have mentioned it to me.
Yeah.
Weirdly, I'm looking at this as a dry run for your next Halloween event.
Halloween month.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's 4 different days here, and with the possibility of even being more, that certainly will give you some real good experience about what the actual throughput is and what the advantages of doing these timed tickets might be, by way of not having people have to sit dead in the water for 2 hours on a street hoping to get in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The only other thought I had as I was looking at the route was whether by any chance it would make sense to turn Hospital Road into a one-way road, maybe beyond Chapel Hill Landing or something, for the purposes of these nights, where you would say come in. You'd probably come in off of Route 27, I guess, and then go out down Hospital Road, where people then can disperse in all directions rather than have them back up. So that was the only thought I had about possibly something that could be done there to,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, Gus. We were thinking if we could drive the traffic back downtown, the restaurants might get a bump out of it.
right.
Maybe we could work out, they might want to do some special promo, grab and go or meals or something.
In fact, as I think about it, for that staging area, I bet you Pete would let you use his street.
It's handy.
Okay.
So do we have a motion then at this point?
Sure, I would move that we approve the request from Medfield TV and the Cultural Alliance of Medfield to use the Medfield State Hospital property on the days requested.
Second.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Murby,
Aye.
and Mr. Marcucci, aye.
Jean and Brett, I'll send you over a draft license agreement.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And I wanted to say thank you to the selectmen. Arts and cultural organizations were the first to close. We're going to be the last to open. Our revenue is down. I know Brett's revenue is down with people dropping cable. Donations are going to be down this year. So really appreciate the opportunity to try to recover a little bit from that with this event.
Well, Gene, for what it's worth, as a member of the State Hospital Development Committee, I think the work that you and Brett are doing in putting this hospital on the map with more people with a good flavor in their mouths about it, I can only assume will work to the benefit of the town when we finally get to the point where we're trying to do something with the property.
Hope so, Gus. We're on the same
Yeah.
page.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we're
Thank
trying
you
to do
both.
Thank
the only thing I wanted to add, because I think it's just going to be really cool for the event, we're actually going to do a radio broadcast. David Maxon's our president, and he does he can do a local transmission. And so he's actually going to do a radio broadcast for people when they turn in. They'll be able to tune in to a frequency that he set. So it'll be like 87.9 or whatever. And he's going to be able to set it so that you can tune in to our radio broadcast as you're driving through our hospital lights. So it'll be pretty cool. Little local Medfield broadcast.
Excellent.
You gonna have any
very
kind of like a Santa Claus contest where local residents can enter to be chosen as Medfield's official Santa Claus?
Why are you going to bust out your Santa suit for this?
Well, no, I was thinking more like it should be the superintendent, the chair of the board of selectmen, chair of the ward committee, the top leaders.
Right. Duly noted. Maybe next year, 2021.
The winter version of a dunk tank.
Yeah.
You don't want too many Santas. That'll confuse the young children.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thanks for making your.
Good luck
Thank
with
you.
it, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is the holiday parade on December 12th. Allison Brown from Memo is asking to have a new and different parade this year. A lot of work, Allison, to redo it all.
No parade, unfortunately, right, Christine?
Right, we're not, it's actually not going to be a parade because
Right.
parades are not allowed under the governor's guidance. So we're working on a name right now. Could
Right.
be this Rolling Santa Rally or something like
Or
that.
Santa's coming to town or whatever, yeah.
We're right around.
Yes, we're working on that.
It's definitely a ride around. Yeah, as everybody else, we're trying to rethink the holidays and Memo is definitely hurting as well as everybody else. Lost out a lot with Medfield Day being canceled and the holiday lights and the parade. So we're just trying to think of something else we can do for the kids, basically. And that's one thing I think Medfield is known for, is being a great family town. And we have so many young families in town that we were thinking of how do we can't do the parade, but wouldn't it be nice to have Santa, because he's always the last float on our parade. So been talking to the Chief Guerrero and Caraco. I'm terrible. Caraco, thank you. Anyway, so Chief Caraco actually came up with a good route. We were really kind of like saying, how do we do this? Because we want to hit so many neighborhoods. And so what we have is Santa is coming and we have Santa. So, and the fire chief has said, okay, that I'm not sure where Santa's going to go on this fire truck, but he's going to be there, maybe front seat with, I don't know, can you ride in the truck with somebody, but we'll string him from the top. But So Santa's going to go through town Saturday the 12th, given everybody's okay. And Chief Guerrero has said that she will most likely have a police car, maybe leading the whatever. It's not a parade. And then what we'd like to do is to probably put into Hometown Weekly the route so that people can look forward to it and maybe be aware that as of 1 o'clock on Saturday the 12th, Santa's going to be starting to show up in several different neighborhoods, and we're hoping to get maybe kids come out and wave and get some excitement up. Pretty short and sweet. So we're just looking for everybody's okay on that.
Any questions, Gus? You want to start?
I don't have any questions. I was sitting there looking at the directions, and we talk about what the format could be. Those road rallies where people have to navigate at a certain speed through. It seemed like that would be a good choice for that. But no questions. I think it's great.
Thank you.
And I gather. So what I hadn't fully appreciated is that this is just the fire truck with the Santa Claus. There's no elves, no reindeer, no supplemental.
We're not
thing.
allowed, unfortunately.
That would be a parade.
Yeah, that would be a parade, and the elf costumes are going to sit in my garage for a year. Hopefully not much more than that. But yeah, so at least it'd be something for the kids to look forward to, that Santa's coming. And it sounds great with this the holiday or the winter lights, and we are going to do the virtual tree lighting, and they're doing the artisans are doing their thing on the 4th of December, rather than our normal holiday stroll. We can't do any of that, so it's all virtual this year, unfortunately.
Allison, it sounds like you're doing the actual tree lights, although, aren't you?
We're doing a tree lighting, but we're not going to be there. So every year, as you're up there with the carolers and such. And we were actually discussing, the memo board was saying, well, can we be there for the tree lighting? But I don't think we're actually we're trying not to encourage a crowd for the tree lighting. And I think what we're going to just do, along with Jean's group and the virtual holiday stroll, at whatever time they have decided. I think the virtual stroll is December 4th from 6 to 8 p.m. And I don't know exactly, the lights are coming on around 8 p.m. all virtual. So, I'm sure there will be, and we're not really here to discuss that, but I'm sure that there will be maybe some people walking around town, but there's really nothing going on in town other than the lights turning on. So it's a different year. Hopefully we will not have this again. So, but at least we have Santa, so we're happy with that.
So Mike, do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
I have none either. No.
So I would move that we approve the request for Memo to conduct the holiday parade.
Not a parade.
The holiday drive around, the holiday non-parade.
Santa's coming to town.
The holiday Santa ride around in a fire truck on December 12th along the route requested.
Awesome.
Second.
Mr. Peterson.
Yep.
Mr. Murby.
Yes.
And Mr. Marcucci, yes.
And Allison, thanks to Memo for doing the actual lights in the trees again.
Thank you, Allison.
I will let them know. We have our meeting tomorrow, Thursday night.
Thanks, Allison.
Thank you. Allison,
Thanks.
I'll touch base with you tomorrow.
Perfect. Thanks again.
Thank you.
You guys have a nice evening. Thank you for all you guys do, for sure.
Thank you.
It is one of the sort of the odd things about Medfield that the holiday lights are put up by a private group. Most towns, it's the town that puts them up.
I would make the observation, some Board of Selectmen meeting agendas are more fun than others. This is starting off well.
So Mr. Murphy is liking this one so far.
Yeah,
Duly noted.
It's getting me into the holiday spirit. We're not even at Thanksgiving yet. Yes, absolutely.
Our next item is discussion, potential votes, update on COVID-19 status, operations, and CARES funding. Anything on that, Chris or Nick?
I just have two quick things on that. One, if you can check out our dedicated COVID site, the Board of Health has launched a data dashboard last week. This replaces our twice weekly text with the COVID numbers. We are now switching to once a week, and it's published on Friday mornings when the state produces the data on Thursdays. The Board of Health is meeting tomorrow at 4:30. They moved their meeting up from Monday. They have some concern about our rising case numbers in Medfield, and they will be taking that up at their meeting tomorrow. And that's all I have on.
Good, excellent.
Tonight.
Yeah, it's very concerning, the rising numbers of COVID cases. We have apparently a private party request at Medfield State Hospital in December.
So this is an interesting request, and it goes to what we were just talking about earlier and renting the hospital out, is that we have a private party, a company out of Boston that would like to rent the property in December for a company party. I was talking with the Board of Health agent today, and she was concerned that this may not be possible due to some of the governor's new guidance on the amount of people that can gather. They originally wanted to do the party under the drive-in standard, but they would also be having food trucks, food, alcohol. So there would be, it would actually fall under the gathering statute versus the drive-in statute. So I still need to work with the Board of Health on that, but I think we need to decide whether or not we're going to rent to private companies for the party like this. It's a little different than what we've been doing, I think.
Depending
Mr.
on,
Chairman?
yes, go ahead, Mr. Sorrell, please.
Yeah, I took part in a call-in workshop last week on the updated governor's orders, and it's pretty clear that that would fall under the public gathering, and the only issue would become how many are permitted, and that's kind of a rolling number, whether you're considered a low risk or a higher risk community. The number changes from one community to another, and it can change from one time to another as well. So I don't have any idea, Chris, if you knew what they were proposing for numbers.
So they were looking in excess of 100, which is really what becomes the issue, is that right now they'd be capped at 100. I have a feeling our designation may change this week, which would drop that gathering to 50.
Yeah, that's correct.
So that would limit what they could have. The problem is if we book the event with them and our designation changes the night before their event, they would have to reduce the number of people coming to the event. So I need to follow up with her of whether or not she even still wants to do it now that the new governor's guidance was released a few weeks ago. But I think it's more a policy decision we need to think about if this is something we want to do.
Any comments, Gus?
Well, yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, it's the right question to be asking. My quick reaction is, with the option of having the land be dormant and not used at all, that would point me in the direction of yes. The second piece I had was, well, this has got alcohol and all that. And then I said, well, so does the cyclocross. I mean, we actually allow organizations to do that already. So I'm saying, so what is the actual problem with a company wanting to run a party here versus something like the cyclocross group, which is not a not-for-profit? I don't, my first reaction is I wouldn't automatically be against it. The only issues would be how you isolate part of the property to have it be the party and not open for the public, and how, what recourse we would have if we did. I mean, I don't think we want to become the party capital for outdoor beer fests for, you know, small private gatherings either. But as I think about it, I don't automatically come up with a hard stop about why we shouldn't do it. With regard to this particular group, if they had 100, I'm almost surprised that they're not. I'm trying to picture where a good spot at the hospital is for a party that kind of, like, I guess you'd have to be outside, and I guess being near old buildings is fun, but I'm looking at someplace like Rocky Woods where they have a pavilion and it's just right down from the pond, and it would be easy enough to have a party of 100 people there, assuming you can have a party of 100 people.
I think that the woman who contacted me about it, I believe that she went to the drive-in for the Coolidge Corner Theater and thought this would be a great
Oh.
location for them. They would plan on having a movie that night in addition
Oh, okay.
to the party.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's where they would be located.
Okay, given that, I don't automatically see some disqualifying
Mhm.
consideration, to be honest.
Mike, thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Gus on this. I mean, I think if it's in compliance with the state guidance, there's going to be people and groups looking for places they can be outside, even if it's going to be cold. And I think my only concern would be is if you had it doesn't seem like it's imminent. If you had a lot of rain or snow and it was muddy and you're worried about, the cars damaging the same thing with the cyclocross. I mean, damaging the turf, that does not seem to be in the offing. And where we are right now, I think it would take a massive amount of precipitation before the ground would be that soft. So I'm open to it that if they can do it within the state guidelines, this may be something that people will be interested in throughout the winter as they look for places to go and obviously they would have to be the group would have to be responsible for. We're not going to police them. We're not going to send in the board of health or the police with 6-foot sticks and all the rest of it. And we might have to have some addendum to our license agreement, making sure that they are responsible for compliance with all the COVID regulations, and that to the extent there's any issues, they're going to be responsible for any violations by their people, and that if we see that they're not following the guidance, we can sort of stop it if necessary. But I think in theory, if everybody's sort of coloring between the lines on this thing, I don't have any objection to it.
I think I come down in the same place as Mike and Gus, and I think they're actually, I think we do. I mean, we rent it to movie people. I'm guessing that maybe they might have some alcohol in their trailers as well. And I
Mr.
think
Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Sorrell.
So it's really two separate things. One is the activity and permitting that, and then if they want to have alcohol available, then they had the option to apply to you for 1 day for beer and wine.
Yep. Depending on the time that they're looking to do it, there could be some synergies with the prior applicant. I mean, if the lights are still up from Cam and the Medfield TV event, that could work to Cam's and Medfield TV's benefit. So I think we should explore it. I think that there are a lot of details to be worked out, certainly.
Okay, then I will go ahead and talk to them tomorrow morning about further details, and I'll put them in touch with the Board of Health to make sure they can meet all the requirements. We have done an addendum to the Coolidge Corner Theater license agreement, making them solely responsible for all the COVID regulations. So we'll just continue with that.
Yeah, and I think, look, we kept the hospital property open for outdoor gatherings back in the spring when the case counts are much higher than they are now, and so there clearly was not a source of great additional spread or great spike in cases or what have you. So I think this can be done responsibly as well.
Okay.
A lot of the financial model for the cultural center up there was based on the rental of the facility for weddings, so that this is just sort of a similar way of financing the property.
So I will tell you that we did have a wedding request come in this week. Unfortunately, they wanted 187 guests, and we weren't able to accommodate it. And then I spoke with Victoria as well about if we changed our designation, she would have to cut her guest list the night before. And I didn't want to be the one to tell grandma she wasn't coming to the wedding. So they agreed to find either a smaller guest list or a different venue, but she'll be in touch in the spring in case things change.
Interesting. All right, so we'll hear more about that later then, Chris.
Put that on the December 1st agenda. I'll speak with her tomorrow.
Okay. Action items. Vote to sign police contract July 1, 2019 to June 30, 2020. So we're ratifying a contract that's already expired.
Yes. we're definitely more efficient than this, I swear. This was actually the contract, the MOU that was just approved at the town meeting in June. We just finalized the wording on the contract and it's been signed by the union. So now it just needs to be signed by the Board of Selectmen. And this is for fiscal year 20.
Any questions, Gus? You want to start?
Well, the only question I guess I have, and that would, single chair of the Board of Selectmen, single signature, I think it was, when I looked at the contract.
Yeah.
So this is just the authorizing Pete to sign. Okay.
Correct.
I do not, but to be honest, I didn't go through this contract in detail. I was tied up all day long with webinars. I found it, I skimmed through it, and basically, to be honest with you, Mike, I assumed that you were probably familiar with it. And especially if it's an after the fact thing, then unless after a review by Mark, presumably a review by Mike, I'm prepared to go ahead and approve it.
No, it would have been approved by Labor Council.
Well, as long as I know there's no.
Approved. You actually all signed the memorandum of agreement with the union on the MOA for this, and there was only 2 changes to the contract. That was a 2% salary increase, and the cleaning allowance was increased by $200. So I apologize. I should have highlighted the 2 changes for you.
Otherwise, this is the contract that was in place for the 3 years before that.
Yes, nothing else was changed.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Mike, you have any questions, comments?
No questions. Obviously, we're still in the process of negotiating the next one. So.
Correct.
Good luck with that. I have no comments or questions either, so I guess we need a motion to.
All right. I would move that we approve the contract with the Medfield Police League and authorize Chairman Peterson to sign the contract on behalf of the town of Medfield.
Second.
Mr. Peterson.
Yep.
Mr. Murby.
Aye.
And Mr. Marcucci.
Our next item is a vote to authorize town administrator to sign retiree health insurance rates.
These are the annual rates for the retirees, and there is no increase this year. It's level funded from last year.
Well, that's good news.
It's very good news.
So
We were very worried about this, so it's definitely good news.
Some of it, one of them went down actually.
Yes.
Well, I would move that we authorize the town administrator to sign the retiree health insurance rates.
So just one quick question, Christine, you said there's no increase, but that's because the one that went down is fundamentally an offset of the one that went up.
Yeah.
Okay. So, second.
Overall, no increase. Yes.
Yeah. Second.
Mr. Peterson.
Yep.
Mr. Murby.
Yep.
And Mr. Marcucci, yes.
Our next item is the annual committee appointments.
So I sent additional committee appointments. You may not have been able to review them. I sent them late this afternoon. I apologize. If you want, we can hold them until December 1st for you to review.
Gus, do you need more time, or Mike?
Well, I printed it out. Christine, can you just highlight the one? I guess you have highlighted the ones that are new.
Yeah, there were only 2 committees that asked to have new appointees, and there are people who have been attending their meetings all along, but were not prepared to join the board, and then decided that this was the time they would like to join.
Okay, and then all the others would be renewable for the full term on the committee.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
I think the only thing I have no objection to the appointments, Christine. I would just suggest that since we do appointments like this, the names usually have to appear, in the agenda. That if we could just do that,
Sure.
we could take care of that piece of homework and just append this to the agenda for next time.
So then we'll hold this then for the next meeting and.
Yes,
vote
but
from then.
substantively, I was fine with everybody who was listed.
I'd agree with that. Christine, the only question I had was Enterprise Fund Committee. There's a highlighted thing advertised for citizen at large.
So I was going to suggest to you, we have the members of the Enterprise Fund Committee are the members of the Water and Sewer Board, as well as staff members within the town. I'd like to have a citizen advisory, citizen at large appointment to that committee. So that was just my suggestion.
So that, I don't have any objection to that either, given that there's 6 people on the committee, it's probably better to get an odd number.
So
The only,
if that's okay with you, I'll advertise it.
yeah, the only thing I would suggest is on the table, we actually show that as an, if we're adding it, show it as an open
Sure.
slot, so we don't lose sight of that.
And we'll start advertising that tomorrow.
But outside of that, I don't have any substantive objections either.
Okay, we'll hold the appointments to the next meeting when we circulate the names ahead of time.
That's fine. And we have 2 more committees to do at the next meeting as well.
It looks like we owe Tom Sweeney a note of thanks for volunteering for yet another committee to be on. So you're out there, Tom. Thank you.
Our next item is lease agreements for the Mount Nebo water tower. One is with New Singular Wireless, PCS LLC, which is AT&T, and the second one is with T-Mobile Northeast.
I'm
Sure,
going to turn
and,
this over to Nick.
So we had a conversation about this probably about 6 weeks ago now. AT&T and T-Mobile have accepted the standard lease agreement with the town. There is a one slight change in the T-Mobile agreement, and that was on our behalf to just confirm that any additional wireless equipment they're planning to add to antenna so that each of their 3 locations will remain within their existing space. We just didn't want them to take advantage of this as a time to expand the amount of space that they're using on the site. So that's the reason for the slight addition to their lease agreement. Otherwise, they have accepted the town's terms on the lease agreements, and we're hoping to get these approved so we can start collecting the increase in rent.
$44,000 per year.
Plus 2.5% each year, right?
Correct.
Questions, Gus? Comments?
Nope, it looked okay to me. I read through particularly the T-Mobile in detail, and nothing jumped out at me, especially if these were our terms, and that's good.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Sorrell.
have the tenants signed yet? They should sign before the selectmen.
I have not received signed copies from them. I would hold these lease agreements until we receive a signed copy for processing for signature.
Mike, any questions, comments?
No questions.
I have none either at this point, so I guess we need a motion.
So I would move that we vote to sign or authorize Chairman Peterson to sign on behalf of the town the 2 lease agreements, one with New Singular Wireless, PCS LLC, and the other with T-Mobile Northeast LLC as requested.
Second.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Murby,
Yes.
and Mr. Marcucci, yes.
And I would just like to, sorry, Pete, to jump in, but Dave Maxon is an invaluable person for us to rely on. So just wanted to thank him for his help over the last, if you can believe it, 11 months that we've been going through this. Thanks to Dave.
He's incredibly knowledgeable about the wireless industry, isn't he? Our next item is to authorize the town administrator to sign an extension of the competitive electricity supply agreement for the town and school facilities for 1 additional year through December 2023 at a rate not to exceed 0.887 cents per kilowatt hour, I think.
Yeah, so the town and schools are batched together through Power Options. This is an agreement that's been in place since about mid-2018. We've been locked in at a rate of 9.74 cents a kilowatt hour since then. So that's been a long-term agreement that we've been in place. That rate will expire December 2022. Power Options and Constellation Energy, who is our supplier, approached us a few weeks ago just to let us know, this offer is out there if we'd like to extend our agreement. So that'd be about just a little under 10% off what we're paying right now if we were to extend it for 1 year. Mike LaFrancesca and Amy Colleran both, we touched base on it. We agreed that this looked like a pretty good opportunity for us. Power Options is a regional consortium that we are in. They're there to give us advice and give us guidance. And this was a recommended price that came from them.
Nick, is the power itself is just conventionally produced power? Or is there any
Correct. Right now, it's just a standard portfolio. It is.
Okay. And the option we had was for 1 year. They weren't offering more than 1 year.
At this time, that's correct.
Okay.
I think, Gus, that you can opt for greener power if that's what you want, but the price is probably higher.
Yeah,
That's correct. And so the price to go to 100% renewable would be 0.15 cents a kilowatt hour. So it's.
Yeah, I wasn't
Twice
arguing.
as much almost.
The reason I asked is I think I have a contract for it's to some degree, I guess it's renewable energy. I think it's 8.9 cents for a 3-year contract. So I was just trying to figure out whether that's what this was or not. Apparently not.
Questions, comments, Mike? Then I'm all set too. Do we need we need a motion then?
Yep, I would move that we authorize the town administrator to sign the extension of the competitive electricity supply agreement for the town and school facilities for 1 additional year through December 2023 at a rate not to exceed $0.0887.
Second.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Murby,
Yes.
and Mr. Marcucci, yes.
So we have no items on our consent agenda. It's citizen comment time then, but we don't seem to have any citizen comments. And town administrator updates, any of those from Chris or Nick?
I just have one. Just a reminder that Coolidge Corner Theater will be doing their last showing of the year this coming weekend, and they're showing Knives Out at the State Hospital.
Are they sold out yet?
I don't believe it is sold out.
Oh, wow.
They're not going to do Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in December
We're thinking about it.
for the children?
That was a great movie. I love that.
I know.
When they turned into Hospital Road and then ended up in Newtonville or something, I got a little confused.
It's a great scene.
Grinch Stole Christmas or something, you know? It's kind of...
Our next meeting date is December 1, and Selectmen's reports. Mr. Murby, do you want to start?
Don't have much to report in the last week. The only point with the development committee, the State Hospital Development Committee is meeting again tomorrow. So we are underway with Bev Gallo and beginning to pull the package together for the RFP. I think I may have reported last week, we had a pretty lively discussion of the first part of it, as Nick, I think, can also attest. So the committee's doing its best to be able to pull this together over the course of this latter part of the year so that we'll be able to put something out there early next year.
Mike, anything?
Just a couple of things. I just wanted to note and compliment Mo and everybody at the transfer station on the good job they continue to do managing things down there. Last weekend, as everyone probably noticed, a very busy weekend for people to be down there dropping off leaves and doing yard work and the rest. And even though the volume was higher, particularly in that last hour before it closed, I thought everything was running smoothly and well as always. Obviously, the volume plus some of the distancing restrictions, make it a little more difficult. And so I think they're doing a really good job. I also want to let people know, for those who are still waiting to get an email back from me, I am still working through some of the emails that I received. I was caught up at one point and others have come in, but I am going to keep working on my homework there. One thing I wanted to raise, Christine, I meant to mention it earlier, if we could put on the agenda for our next meeting, kind of the topic we had earlier in the whole COVID period around our economic development funds and any uses to which they may be put to assist any of our businesses, particularly as we move into the winter months. If there would be any, obviously some of that money was always earmarked for the holiday stroll. That's not happening this year. I don't think we had any specific asks the last time, but I did see a couple of towns, for example, are springing for heaters, outdoor heaters, to assist the businesses, similar to what we did with the picnic table. So if there was a request, I don't know if that would be of interest or of use to any of our businesses or places where we could put it. But I think if we put that on the agenda and see if anybody wanted to come and say, make a proposal for us to just talk about what might be useful. Obviously, people are concerned, as they should be, about restaurants as we head into the winter months and outdoor dining not being quite as viable as it was for the fall. But then there's other businesses as well. I know for some of the shops in town, the Christmas season is this is their money time of year, and so anything we can do to help them, I just want to put that on the agenda so we don't lose track of that. And I think I had something else as well, and I wrote down a note, and I cannot read my handwriting. So if I think of it the next, while Pete is giving his report, I will bring it up. I think it was another. It was complimenting somebody else in town for doing a good job, and I can't remember who it was. So if I could decipher my handwriting, I will mention it. But thank you to somebody who I meant to mention, and now it slipped my mind, who's done an excellent job. So I apologize.
Thank you, sir. I would highlight the Medfield Environmental Action, a new group in town, held a forum last night, and on how to decarbonize your life. Basically, it's get an electric car, put on solar panels, and put in a heat pump to heat your home with. And they had speakers on each of those topics talking about how they had done that. And it was a good program. Medfield Environmental Action is doing a lot of very interesting things in town. And I suggest people get on their mailing list. Second one was Arbor Day last Friday. I got to attend, thanks to Christine. And we made a big deal out of a hemlock tree at the cemetery. And what fascinated me, Chris, was I had walked past and driven past that driveway opening, and as Bobby Kennedy Jr. told me, it's a basically a work yard for the cemetery crews, and I had never noticed it. But now we have a nice hemlock tree in the middle of the driveway into it, so it's very festive looking.
And somebody left us stuffed bunnies under the tree, so I don't know if they made it into any of the patch pictures, but somebody had left us bunnies under the tree. So.
And then the last thing is the Energy Committee met last week, and I drew the short straw, and they're just. I would just mention that the Energy Committee is hugely active. Anybody that's interested in climate change issues, in dealing with saving the town money on energy uses, should look at getting involved with the Energy Committee. Let's see. I drew the short straw, so I kept better minutes than I usually do, 3 pages of them. Nick's going to send me the recording so I can make it into a transcript so I can even do better. But I mean, the green communities, Alex Stevens reported about the $139,000 grant and how it's getting dispersed. New from the Green Communities application for the Green Communities Act, there's a table 4 which just lists this huge number of energy conservation measures that they're basically working their way through now. There was a bunch of new incentives from Eversource, motors, steam traps, air purifiers that were talked about. The people who are doing the solar at the Kingsbury Club were in to talk about that whole deal. Dale Street School discussion and the energy issues there. There's a big hope that it can be a net zero school from the Energy Committee people, certainly, and that's that discussion that Mark Sandine came and talked to us about, the selectman from Lexington, who said that if we do it, that his analysis shows that it doesn't cost you anything from year 1 to have that. Medfield State Hospital, Townwide Master Planning Committee. So they've just got fingers in a lot of pots. They're doing a lot of work under Fred Davis's chairing of it. So if anybody's any interest in those, I really recommend that they take a look at the Energy Committee. And that's it for me.
So Pete, I remembered and
I
translated.
talked long enough.
No, I wanted to thank the Legion Auxiliary, Michelle Doucette and her team for
Yes,
the
indeed.
display they put on for Veterans Day. It was, I thought, meaningful. As always, we were able to get up there after the luminaries were lit after dark, and it was a beautiful display and a great chance to talk to the kids about what it means and all the various names on the luminaries and all the rest of it. And so, thank you to them for making this happen. Obviously, it's a challenge, but they did a great job, and I think it was we missed having the ceremony, but I think it was still special, and hopefully people got a chance to see it. And I'm glad they did it. So and I'm glad I remembered as well. To thank them. So great job by them, and thank you to them, and thank you to all of our veterans for serving our country.
I agree with your comments about that display and that remembrance of the veterans. And your talking reminded me of the other thing that I wanted to say, which was that I wanted to second your comments, Mike, about the fact that I've got a whole bunch of emails about the Dale Street school siting issue that I haven't had a chance to get to, but I will get to those and respond to people. They all came in the day of our meeting, I think, for the most part.
I've got a few afterwards, but if you're going to make an issue of it, it's all three of us that are still working to dig out of the email hole.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that we've covered everything, Chris.
I think that's it. I think right now I just need you to end
online.
And then the high wire act of actually seeing if we can successfully manipulate this website. So
set the tax rate.
Right
Okay.
here. Yvonne did tell me that you're not going to have the opportunity to hit save. You're just going to add signature and then sign. It won't ask you to save. So once you do that, it's going to kick you out.
Okay. Well,
okay.
I will move that we adjourn.
So Christine, I have one problem. She said to send a link, and I don't see anything unless I'm not looking hard enough and back far enough.
The link was in a prior email.
When?
Friday. I was trying to give you enough time to reset your password. Did you reset your password?
No, I got the password reset, and so I got the temporary back, which I have. But I haven't gone beyond that. But I can do. So is that same email the one that has the link?
Yes.
The password reset BOS at the top is the. I'm sending it to you right now, Gus.
Password reset BOS. Oh, wait a minute. No, don't bother.
I've already done it.
Okay.
Too late.
Christine, I homed in on the DLS Gateway temporary. No, that's when I got back. Hold on. All right. I found it. I had two messages from you. One was the reset, which I did. And the other one, I think, okay. All right. I think I can do this.
I'm waiting right here.
So I would just mention to my colleagues that I checked my mail at the townhouse today, and there were a lot of warrants to sign in Joy's office.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's see. Actually, I looked at one of the things, but not the other. Got it.
So can we adjourn?
As far as I'm concerned, unless you're not going to let us adjourn until I figure this
No,
out.
you adjourn, and then if you have a problem signing in,
yeah, okay.
give me a call.
Okay. I'll do that. All right. Yes, we can.
All right. Well, I would move that we adjourn, and then I try to figure out what I'm supposed to do. I'm logged in. I'll try to figure out what I'm supposed to do now that I'm logged
Second
in.
and second.
Yeah, I'm sure this is fascinating for the remaining viewers at home.
How many selectmen does it take to screw in a light bulb and or sign a form?
Not do anything big like setting the tax rate or anything.
Yeah, I would move that we adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Murby?
Aye.
And Mr. Marcucci, aye. Thank you all and good luck.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
I'm right here.
All right, so I can drop off here, or should I stay on while I'm trying to do this with my other screen?
No, why don't you drop